Okay, hello everyone. How you guys doing? My name is Mark. This is Why I Hate the World. And got some things to talk about today. So streaming at an unusual time because I'm going to be out of town this weekend. So I won't have a chance to actually stream. So I figure do it the night before. Thank you for anyone who actually joins. I know I only gave a very short amount of time before this. So, have a little bit of a theme. We're going to talk about a couple of different things tonight, and the theme is hate and violence. Because hate and violence seems to be very much normalized now on the right wing, and I think it's something that we really can't afford to forget. Um, you always get people out there, especially when it comes close to an election time, which get ready, folks, because it's time for another presidential election. That's season is going to be happening here pretty soon. By this summer or so, we're going to start seeing you know, gear ups to the primaries and stuff like that, and it's already happening. People jockeying for position for the Republican nomination and whatnot. And you always get people who say, well, it's not worth voting. Both sides are the same. And I really, really, really just want to emphasize that that's just simply not true. You know, Especially when it comes to exploiting hatred and violence. The right wing in this country is by far guilty. They are the perpetrators of domestic terrorism, of political violence in this country, are by far heavily, heavily overrepresented on the right wing. And that's just the goddamn truth. Since 2000, something around 500 or so people killed in through political violence, domestic terrorism, stuff like that. And it's like 90% right wingers, you know. So it's something that we really should not forget about because, these people are fucking insane and they're out there and they vote. And they just seem to be getting crazier and crazier every year. So here's the thing that I want to bring up here. This is a Newsweek article, just to kind of start off, right? Let's see, is it going to actually show the video? There we go. Okay, pause that. So before we get going there, let me just put that in the chat for you guys. That's the thing that we're going to look at. Let me turn on my window. Marjorie Taylor Greene presiding over House leaves viewers physically ill. I know I kind of felt a little physically ill watching this. Right. So there's a little video here. This is only 51 seconds long, so we can actually watch this whole thing. We don't really need any audio, but basically she's acting as the Speaker of the House. She presided over the House, right? What does this mean? Well, she's not the Speaker of the House, right? Basically what it was is like they did a sort of, interim kind of thing. Here's her tweeting it out herself. I could get used to this as she smacks the gavel, right? Let's just sort of rewind that. See, smacking the gavel. Very smug look on her face, right? Basically what it is they just sort of rotate this out once in a while, to kind of give Kevin McCarthy a break or whatnot, when he has days off, stuff like that. Because nobody works 24 hours, 24/7. So, yeah, they let her take the reins. So keep in mind, this is Marjorie Taylor Greene here. This is the Jewish space lasers lady. And she is a traitor. Let me turn this off. I don't say that lightly, right? Let's go ahead and get rid of this. There's no reason to actually read this article. I just wanted to kind of show you that this was a thing that happened. So let's go ahead and turn that off. Marjorie Taylor Greene is an actual bona fide traitor.
Talk about
You
Marjorie
know,
Taylor Greene in a
quite. You know, bona fide traitor. That is someone who, aids and abets, provides material aid to an enemy of the United States. That's what she's done. That's, what you call the definition of traitor. If you're a traitor, you're aiding, engaging in, fighting against the United States, or supplying material aid to the enemies of the United States. That's what she does. That's what she did. Right. This is what, her going and praying and with the fucking like people who were arrested and like trying to barge into a fucking to the jail where all of the January 6th people were being held and stuff like that. You know, that's what that is. It's providing material aid to the enemies of the United States. And we can even take her own words for it. Here's another video that I'm going to turn on here. Let me just go ahead and fast forward to the relevant part. It's at right here. Okay. So this is Marjorie Taylor Greene at a talk of some kind. Let's go ahead and turn this on. We can make this a little smaller here so that YouTube doesn't kick me. Right, just kind of make that a little tiny small. And yeah, let's make that full screen. There we go. Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is her own words now. Right.
I come to Washington. I swear in on January 3rd. I get accused of giving insurrection tours, which I thought was hilarious because I couldn't even find the bathroom in the Capitol. True story. Then January 6th happens, and next thing you know, I organized the whole thing along with Steve Bannon here. And I want to tell you something. If Steve Bannon and I had organized that, we would have won. Not to mention, it would have been armed. Yeah. See, that's the whole joke, isn't it? They say that whole thing was planned, and I'm like, are you kidding me? A bunch of conservative Second Amendment supporters went in the Capitol without guns, and they think that we organized that? I don't think so.
well,
There you go, folks. That's the woman presiding over the House of Representatives. That's Marjorie Taylor Greene presiding, saying, tweeting out, I could get used to being in charge here. I could get used to this. As she gets a taste of political power. She's a traitor. She's a traitor. All right, so first off, when she was talking about okay, well, this, I was accused of giving an insurrection tour. That actually happened. All right. The insurrection tour thing, that's a real thing. Here's an article here from The Guardian. Right. Which was, let's go ahead and put this down in the chat for y'all as well. There we go. That's The Guardian. Let's go ahead and open up this for a little while and read some of this. Congress members led reconnaissance tours of the Capitol before the attack, evidence suggests. Right. So this is let's see, when was this published? 8 months old. Okay, so about middle of last year. House Select Committee investigating the Capitol attack revealed on Thursday it had evidence to suggest certain reconnaissance tours took place in the days before January 6th, potentially providing some riders with a layout of the complex. Okay. Panel said in a letter requesting cooperation from Georgia Republican Congressman Barry Loudermilk that he gave a tour the day before the Capitol attack. Disclosure resurrects a contentious line of inquiry that connects the House Republicans to the insurrection. Right. Marjorie Taylor Greene was one of the people that is suspected of giving one of these tours. Let's see. We don't have to read the entire thing verbatim. Moving on. Concerns led 34 House Democrats seek an investigation into the alleged reconnaissance tours that took place on January 5th, 2021, which prompted a review of security footage. Camera footage by the House Administration Committee, according to sources familiar with the matter. Democrats on the House Administration Committee turned over some of that footage to the U.S. Attorney General. Right. So, there you go. These are actual... This actually happened. Right. So when you listen, she just cracks a joke about that. Oh, I got accused of giving tours, an insurrection tour. There's evidence that happened. That's just not some fucking conspiracy theory. Right? There's actual investigation there. Video that they handed over to the investigators of people giving tours the day before. Right? And some people that were on those tours in the security cameras there showed up the next day. I mean, is that a coincidence? Did she just not know? Was she really like, oh, here's where I'm going to be working? And was it completely innocent? I mean, I don't know. But the fact is, it's not a joke. And here's she jokes about it. Oh, ha, 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 this is funny. It's not a joke. I think she's 100% serious there when she says next time, we would have won. If I would have done this, we would have won. Right? We would have come armed. She's a lawmaker. She works in that building. Right? Those people were there, to kill Congress. They were there to kill Nancy Pelosi. They were there to kill AOC, right? They were there to kill the Democrats. They weren't there to kill the fucking Republicans. They were there to kill the Democrats, okay? So, this shit is not funny, and you wonder why so many, insane right-wingers, wait a minute, what the hell is that? Oh, that's on my computer screen. Okay, there's a little... I guess I should, clean my screen off once in a while. Wait, is that a dead pixel? Fuck, I think it is. Oh, well. Looks like I need a new monitor. Anyway. This shit isn't funny, folks, is what I'm trying to say here, right? Is that it's not a joke. We should treat this kind of thing completely serious. Right? 100% serious, because... her constituents out there are getting the message. She can joke about it. She has to joke about it, really. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Oh, we would have won, blah, 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 right? The word for that is stochastic terrorism. That's the, oh, wait. Let's go back there. Stochastic terrorism is what that's called. When you don't straight out say... somebody go kill this guy. You just sort of allude to it. Won't somebody rid me of this troublesome priest or whatever? What's that famous line from fucking Shakespeare? You know what I mean? I can't remember exactly what it is, but won't somebody rid me of this troublesome priest? The same kind of way that a mob boss does. Mob boss doesn't say, hey, go kill this guy. Mob boss says... it'd be really nice if somebody were to go take out Johnny Two-Tone or whatever. And then, without actually giving the order, because then he can, have plausible deniability, right? Same kind of way that, all of the right-wing pundits and stuff do the exact same thing. They never actually say that you should go murder Trent. Like I said yesterday in the last stream, when we were talking about... in the last stream where I was like, they never say, yeah, all trans people should be lined up against a wall and shot. They just allude to it. They never say go out and murder, murder gay people, murder trans people, shoot Black Lives Matter protesters, stuff like that. They just allude to it over and over and over and over. They just allude to it. Ben Shapiro alludes to it. Sean Hannity alludes to it. Right, fucking Candace Owens. Matt Walsh, all those people. They never straight out say go engage in violence. They just make everybody extremely scared. And, Charlie Kirk, all of them, profit off of your fear, right? Until somebody goes out, and then when somebody actually does go out and attack someone, they had nothing to do with it, right? Case in point here, I want to look up. Let's see if I can find this real fast. Let's see the Paul Pelosi attacker. So a video came out of David DePape, right? That's his name. He was the guy that he was the guy that broke in and broke in and assaulted Paul Pelosi. He was looking for Nancy Pelosi. I don't know if you guys remember a few months ago, right? We did a stream on that too. The crazy guy that broke into the Pelosi household and smacked Paul Pelosi over the head with a hammer. And there was a giant, conspiracy theory that jumped up overnight all about it. The conspiracy theory being that this is really Paul Pelosi's gay lover, and that he was a male prostitute, or his gay lover, and they were fighting because Paul Pelosi didn't want to pay him or whatever, and he didn't really break in, and all this went south, and etc., etc., etc. Right? DePape video confession. What was it? Confession. So a video came out of DePape confesses and explains why. Let's see if I can actually find. Here we go. I want to find the actual part where the guy talks. If I can actually find it here. Comments are turned off. Damn. Well, anyway, I don't actually have this ready, so I'm not going to go hunting for it. Long story short, the guy DePape is an insane right winger, and this is the defense that they all have given is that he's some kind of like drug addict, he's a hippie, he lives in a bus, whatever. The place he lived at had Black Lives Matter stickers all over it, stuff like that. Yeah, maybe the guy's not a racist, but he is an insane right winger who is obsessed with Nancy Pelosi and thinks that she's the spawn of Satan. Maybe we'll actually go through his video on one of a future stream when I actually have it all queued up and ready. And it's just very funny how, the thing that people aren't talking about is that this is an example of right-wing violence that actually worked. Right-wing violence, because a lot of the political violence in usual doesn't really seem to accomplish very much. Not usually. Most of the time it's some crazy person tries to shoot somebody or does kill somebody or whatever. Nothing really changes, right? Well, this attack got Nancy Pelosi to retire, got her to quit. Why do you think she quit, everybody? I mean, she's still, she's old as hell, but, she's in her 70s, right? But she's still young enough. She's still, in relatively good health. She doesn't have cancer or anything like that. She's, still pretty spry for, however old she is. I think she's the exact same age as Trump, actually. So, 72, something like that? Right? Why did she retire? Why did she decide to step down this year instead of continue on when she has all the experience in the world and, for whether you like it or not, is actually a pretty good leader. Nancy Pelosi actually is a pretty good leader. She gets shit done. Now, maybe it's the shit that she wants that doesn't align with what, you or I want. No one's going to call her a progressive at any length, right? But she knows how to play the game. I mean, that's what it is. Politics, it's a dirty fucking game, right? She knows how to play it. She's been around the block a little while. And there's a lot that she can still contribute as far if you're just talking about, partisan politics, right, to the Democratic Party. There's a lot that she could still contribute. Why did she decide to step down? Because a madman broke into her house and tried to kill her husband. And so she said, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore because it's putting my fucking family in danger, right? Why did a crazy person break into her house and try to kill her husband? Which ultimately the crazy person was trying to kill her. If she was home, This guy DePape would have smashed her skull in with a hammer and killed her, right? Why? Because every single right wing asshole conspiracy theorist and political pundit for the last fucking 15 years has been calling her the spawn of Satan, right? When you get on the airwaves and you say stuff, that it doesn't just fly off into nowhere. And no, I mean, unless nobody watches your fucking show, right? Like me, nobody watches my shit. But still, you know, it's not like fucking, you know, nobody pays attention to this shit. They do, right? When fucking, Sean Hannity gets up on there, right? When Alex Jones gets on the air, when Ben Shapiro gets on the air, when all of these people, and fucking Charlie Kirk. What did Charlie Kirk say? Charlie Kirk said that somebody should bail to Pape out, that he was a hero, right? And we should get the true story, all this other crap, right? When these assholes get on the air and say this stuff, people are listening, and maybe not all of them are the most mentally balanced individuals, no one, I mean, that's stochastic terrorism. If you go on the air, if you start like kind of like with Bill O'Reilly. If you remember Bill O'Reilly way back in the day, he was the precursor to fucking what's that other asshole? The Fox News asshole, fucking I can't remember his name, but Bill O'Reilly went on the air and he was talking about an abortion doctor named George Tiller, and he for weeks and weeks and weeks and months, Bill O'Reilly would talk shit about this doctor, and like came up with a nickname for him, called him Tiller the Baby Killer, and he just kept saying it over and over. Here's another one from George Tiller, Tiller the Baby Killer. He's performed 500 abortions. He's killing babies. Tiller the Baby Killer. Just kept saying it over and over and over. And what happened? Some fucking crazy ass conservative Christian went out and shot this doctor. Why? Because fucking Bill O'Reilly turned him into a goddamn villain. Right? You can't do that. You can't, if you go on the air and you vilify somebody over and over and over, it's dangerous. It's dangerous, and it causes violence, Somebody out there is gonna take that extra step. Somebody out there is gonna, like, someone who's not taking all their meds or whatever, or is at home all lonely, pissed off that like women don't want to fuck him or something, is gonna like latch onto that shit, go a little fucking bananas, run out, buy a pistol, and shoot somebody because you kept telling them to. And that's what we seem to be happening over and over and over, But and here's the thing about that. When people say, getting back to my original point, well, both sides are the same, right? The Republicans do this and the Democrats do that. When was the last time a Democratic politician said that the Speaker of the House should be executed? Called for the Speaker of the House to be executed. When was the last time that happened? When was the last time that a Democratic politician called the President of the United States like a groomer and said that he was a pedophile? When did that happen? Right? Name for me one Democratic politician even through the Trump years. Name one politician that said that Trump should be executed, or Trump is a traitor and should be like executed for fucking like, for like baby raping pedophilia. Like, no. that didn't happen. Okay, yeah, maybe there was like some other celebrities or some shit out there that like, no politicians that, no. It's not even close to the same thing. There are no, who? Bernie Sanders, AOC. Does anybody on the right, the left do that? They don't. The left does not engage in stochastic terrorism. The left does not use violent rhetoric. The left doesn't tell people to go out and fucking like, murder other people or use violence. They don't make jokes about terrorist attacks and that, oh, we would have come armed, we would have won. Complete and total bullshit. 5 people died during January 6th, right? We gotta forget about this stuff, right? We shouldn't, it's not funny to make jokes about that. We would have came, we would have won. Get the fuck. And here's the thing about this: that woman is now like gaining power. Now that the Republicans are in charge, she's on committees. She's fucking swinging the gavel. She's like showing up talking to like experts about CRT and shit like that, blaming, pushing all of her ridiculous, stupid ass conspiracy theories. And now she has the biggest fucking platform in the world. Well, not in the world, but in the country, the United States Congress, right? Not funny, folks. Not funny at all. Some other things I want to bring to your attention. Talking about right-wing violence, here is an article that you guys may be interested in. Let me just go ahead and put this down in the chat for y'all. There we go. Now, let me turn this on. If we're talking about violence, here's something that we should pay attention to. Neo-Nazi couple arrested for alleged plot to attack power grid and destroy whole city. Just to kind of show you that these people aren't all talk, right? It's important because the violence is real. Brandon Russell, leader of neo-Nazi group Atomwaffen Division, and his prison girlfriend allegedly plotted to attack 5 Baltimore area energy stations. Here's the wonderful couple. I believe that she's already in prison when she's like currently in prison, but they were like corresponding or something. A neo-Nazi couple allegedly plotted to attack 5 energy substations in the Baltimore area, hoping to completely destroy this whole city, according to charging documents. Brandon Clint Russell, this guy, founding member and leader in the dangerous neo-Nazi terror group Atomwaffen Division, recently released from prison, serving time for possession of explosives. Right. So, yeah. And he got caught, basically. He met his girlfriend while they were both serving her own prison sentence for a string of armed robberies of convenience stores in Maryland. She got busted for robbing convenience stores. He got busted for having fucking explosives, bombs and shit, grenades, shit like that. Whatever it was. Here's the wonderful guy right here. Kind of looks a little familiar, doesn't it? I mean, if you were to look at that, if you just kind of ignore the white supremacist insignia there on his knife, and I think up on his lapel up here, sort of looks just like a bunch of, pretty much every other LARPing wannabe right-wing piece of shit that shows up at a protest with a fucking rifle, doesn't he? He's even got the Punisher skull thing. Well, I guess that's not a Punisher skull. But, yeah. So, anyway, they hatched a plot to attack critical infrastructure. Charging documents show them posing in tactical gear and with swastikas and a skull mask. This is a siege mask among neo-Nazi accelerationists. So, an accelerationist is somebody who wants to accelerate the collapse of civilization so that they could take over and then, form the country into their perfect fucking like white supremacist, utopia and shit. So that's the idea. That's the whole plan behind all of these guys. Is they're not so much trying to take over the country as they're trying to cause the collapse of the country, because they want the United States to collapse into chaos and then they think in that resulting chaos, then they can sort of set up their own little puppet kingdoms. That's sort of what they want. They kind of want the United States to turn into Somalia, is what they want, so that they can be warlords and then take over Portland, Oregon, and kick out all the non-white people. That's the plan. So, hence blowing up fucking power stations. The idea is to cause chaos. It's not so much, because they know that they're these fucking like pissant little trolls know that they don't really stand a chance. They can't engage in open warfare with the United States government because they know they'll get trounced. And they also know that they are highly unpopular. They know that the popular support of the people is never going to back them, right? Because that's what you need in order to engage in an efficient revolution, or insurrection. If you want to be successful, you need the populace to support you. And that's why it was successful in Vietnam and like, Iraq and shit like that, because the populace supported them. They wanted to kick out the invading Americans, right? Well, they know that here in the United States, they know that everybody fucking hates Nazis because Nazis are pieces of shit, and they stand for the exact opposite of what the United States stands for, mainly freedom. Now, the Nazis are the most anti-freedom thing that you can like. Fucking fascism is the exact opposite of freedom, right? And they know that. They know that's, and so they know that people will never support them, like, ever. If they were to try to engage in open warfare, if they were to actually go out and start blowing stuff up, things like that, planting roadside bombs, that kind of thing, they know that their neighbors, right, the people that they live with are going to turn them in a fucking nanosecond because people hate Nazis. So what's their plan? Their plan has always been to destabilize the United States. That's what these guys want to do, right? Nazis are trying to destabilize the United States. They're the opposite of patriots. Okay, so just remember that whenever you see people saying, I'm patriotic American, all this other... No. Bullshit. They are the opposite of patriots. They're fucking traitors is what they are. They want to see the United States destroyed. They don't care about your freedom. They don't care about your rights. They don't care about any of that shit, right? They want to take those things away from you so that they can impose on the people in this country their own brand of ridiculous fucking racial purity. That's what the goal of these assholes are, right? Anyway, so yeah, read a little more. The 5 substations they allegedly wanted to target included Norrisville, Ritterstown, blah blah blah. Okay, whatever. Right. These substations were arranged in a ring around Baltimore and would wipe out power across the city if they were attacked simultaneously. It would probably permanently, completely lay the city to waste if we could do that. Okay, there's too many words there, man. You don't need permanently, probably permanently, completely. You could just say it would probably completely, or probably lay the city to waste. You don't need all 3 of those. Anyway, it would probably permanently, completely lay the city to waste if we could do that successfully, she allegedly told an FBI source. So you got to think about, let's go ahead and turn that off for now. What would that actually do, right? If you were to knock out all the power in the city, we can turn that off for now. Actually, you know what? Let me make that smaller in case I need to. Okay. Turn that off. What would that actually mean, right? Because you go, well, we're just without power for a few days. That would mean people would die. Right. Without power, if you lose power for long enough, people start dying. Right. Especially now in cold and shit. Up in Baltimore, snowing and everything. People will start freezing in their homes. If that were to happen, if you were to have power for less than a certain amount of time, people start running out of food, right? Water is pumped with electricity. So a couple days, that water pressure is going to go away, right? People start, like in hospitals and stuff, people that are hooked up to machines in order to survive, after a couple of days, generators start running out of power. They start getting desperate. They have to start evacuating those people, and some of them aren't going to make it. People who are on life support, people who are on respirators because of COVID. That's still a thing. That's still happening. You know, roughly 200 to 300 people a day, you know, are in the hospital dying of COVID, and every day, roughly 200 to 300 people kick the bucket from COVID. Still, after 2 fucking years, still happening, right? Without power, you can kiss those people goodbye, right? That's their plan. That's their idea. They want to do that, you know, because they want to throw this nation into chaos. So then that way they can go out and kill all the black people and kill all the Jews and kill all the fucking Latinos. That's their plan. They want to turn it into like this country into a lawless, you know, failed state, Mad Max kind of thing. Right. A little bit about the Atomwaffen division. These guys are a pretty scary bunch, and an awful lot of them have faced charges for illegal weapons possession and other crimes such as that. The Atomwaffen division was founded in 2015 by this guy, Russell. What was his name? The guy in that, you know, Brandon Russell. That's his name, right? He's the guy that founded the Atomwaffen division. They like to target gay people and Jewish people. Trans people seem to be a very big target for them as well. They engage in things like swatting, stuff like that, you know, harassment, and a few of them have actually been arrested for some serious crimes. They were founded on a website, a forum called ironmarch.org, which is thankfully no longer around, but it was a forum for neo-Nazi pieces of fucking garbage. And this same forum, the ironmarch.org, it also had connections to other groups such as the Nordic Resistance Movement, National Action, and one called Golden Dawn, which is very, very active in Europe. Golden Dawn, in Greece in particular. In fact, they're politically active in Greece, if I remember right. If this is the same, if this is the same group that I'm thinking of, I mean, pretty sure they have like politicians and shit in Greece. I don't know. I could be wrong about that, but that might be an actual different group called Golden Dawn. Not sure if it has any connections to this one, but... Well, what is that noise? Huh. Anyway, sounded like someone's outside my window. But I'm like on the second floor. That's strange. Maybe I got ghosts, squirrels or something. Anyway, the thing about Atomwaffen is that their membership is mostly young because they recruit on college campuses, you know. And that's the freaky thing about all this, is that they're going after the kids, right? Why do these groups target young people so much, right? It's the same way that Charlie Kirk's group, you know, the Toilet Paper USA, those assholes, right? They go on to college campuses, and, you know, same reason why Ben Shapiro likes to go to college campuses and try to, like, you know, debate young people who, like, have no experience debating, and then he can, like, make videos out of, like, how stupid these liberals are. Like, same reason why he does that. Same reason why Steven Crowder goes to college campuses, right? Because when you're a kid, when you're in college, 18, 19, 20, you're open. Your mind is open to alternative points of view. Most people, right? Most people, for example, if they convert to a new religion, will do so during that age, right? It's very rare that someone in their 30s or 40s converts to a new religion. But people who are late teens, early 20s, they convert all the time. Why? Because they're trying to discover themselves, right? They're trying to find who they are and come to their own sort of, their own personalities, things like that. And they are also trying to distinguish themselves from their parents, right? And this is why you get, rebellious behavior when you're that age as well. This is why you do the shit at those age that your parents don't always didn't want you to do. You know, lots of people at this age, they lose their virginity for the first time too. That's not a coincidence, right? There's a reason why, because you're open, you're out, you want to have fun, and you want to be a little rebellious because you're an adult, and for the first time in your life, no one gets to tell you what you can and you can't do, and you're gonna party it up, right? That's why. That's why these assholes go to college campuses, because your biases have not set in yet at that age. Most people are just still discovering all this stuff. Nobody has any fucking idea what any of this shit is when they're 18. Not really, right? So how are you supposed to know if if a church comes up to you and wants to recruit you, or Scientology or anything like that? Same reason. That's the same reason why Scientology recruits college kids. Is the same reason why these assholes go to college campuses to try to find new recruits. Same fucking reason. Right. Pretty fucking disgusting, actually. Oh, I should turn that off. Okay. Anyway, so, here is a list, but here's the thing. These guys are fucking dangerous. Right? So, here's an actual list of people from the Atomwaffen division. I'll just put that down there. Who, have faced criminal charges in the United States. Maybe we could read a little bit of this for a little while. Just to kind of show who these people are and that they mean business, right? List of Atomwaffen division members in the United States who faced criminal charges. Okay, so of course we have Brandon Russell here. He's the guy that we were just talking about. So he's arrested a bunch of times, They found explosive ammonium nitrate and some other chemicals and some detonators on this guy. These are the ingredients apparently that were used by terrorist groups such as Al-Qaeda in order to make IEDs and that kind of thing. He got busted for that, went to prison. They also found guns, various Atomwaffen paraphernalia, neo-Nazi paraphernalia, right? And had a framed photograph of Timothy McVeigh in his bedroom. Let's not forget Timothy McVeigh, largest domestic terrorism act up until that time. The bombing of the Oklahoma City federal building was also a very, very rabid white supremacist. Right. Anyway, a couple of other guys. This guy's name I thought was funny. This is the fakest fucking name ever. Vasios Pistolis. Yeah, right. Pistolis, that's your last name? Get the fuck out of here. Okay. Anyway, at the Unite the Right rally, he assaulted a transgender woman with a modified version of he had with a flagpole that was a modified version of the Confederate flag that incorporated the neo-Nazi black sun symbol in his center, and even bragged about the beating in private chats under the alias of Valius the Greek. To sum up what I did Friday, drop kicked that tranny and made video crying. Today cracked 3 skulls open with virtually no damage to myself. Right? And then even admitted I drop kicked Emily Gorsensky. Also part of a gang of neo-Nazis that assaulted an interracial couple in a suburb of Nashville, Tennessee. So yeah, he got busted and went to prison there. And he was actually in the Marines. So this is some crazy shit. I'm not going to read every single one of these, obviously. right? Because this is, I don't want to spend the entire thing reading. You guys can check it out for yourself, but one thing that I find through all of these is these guys seem to you know like they seem to have a liking for the um Unabomber. So you see here Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, right? Said they openly admired McVeigh, Charlie Manson, and the Unabomber. That seems to be a thing they really like. Like Timothy McVeigh is sort of like a fucking hero to these assholes. Like 3 or 4 of these people, you'll see that they keep saying that they admired Timothy McVeigh. Right. Um, there was another one that was let's see. One thing I wanted to bring up here about a guy. So this guy improvised Connor Climo explosive devices. But there was a guy that, here we go. This dude, Andrew Thomas Berg, right? Was also busted for selling guns illegally, right? Um, he said that the Poway synagogue shooting could have been so good. Called Robert Gregory Bowers and Brenton Tarrant saints, right? That caught my eye. The Poway synagogue shooting. What is this? Okay. Well, let's go ahead and open that up. Poway synagogue shooting back in April of 2019. At the Chabad of Poway Synagogue in Poway, California, United States. So this is upstate a little bit. Oh, actually no, it's in San Diego. Excuse me. Basically, madman broke in, and his name was Timothy Ernest, and he shot and killed one person in this synagogue, tried to kill a bunch of others, wounded the rabbi from the synagogue, went into a room where a bunch of people were there with their children, and fired off 10 more rounds. Thankfully didn't kill anybody else, from what I could see. Right. Who was John Earnest? Well, John Earnest actually has a manifesto. This is the John Earnest Manifesto that he posted before he went in and shot up a synagogue. Now, I don't know if I should link to this because this is straight up hate speech, and I'm thinking I might get in trouble from YouTube if I put a link to this guy's manifesto here. But I'm thinking maybe we should read this as part of a different stream. I don't want to read it tonight, right? But I read through a little bit of it, and it's kind of fascinating because everything this guy believes is a conspiracy theory. This manifesto written by this mass shooter who went into a synagogue in order to kill Jewish people is filled with every single right-wing idiotic white supremacist conspiracy theory that you could shake a pointed stick at, right? Some of them, the exact same conspiracy theories that you hear from people like Tucker Carlson or Charlie Kirk, things about the Great Replacement, right? There's even in here a reference to fucking it was Simon of Trent, right? There's even a reference to Simon of Trent in here, which, where is it? Sake of my people, blah blah blah. I'm blessed by God. No. Right around here, where he talks about actually, you know what? I could just do Control F. Simon, there it is. Simon of Trent, right? And this is a paragraph where this guy is basically going off and talking about how every Jew is the worst thing ever, and that they're all working together to destroy the right white race, blah 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 blah. And this caught my eye here, right? You are not forgotten, Simon of Trent. The horror that you and countless children have endured at the hands of the Jews will never be forgiven, right? And I saw that because Simon of Trent is a very, very famous sort of instance of what's become known as blood libel, Right. So let's go ahead and turn this off for now. I'm not going to, maybe I'll read this on another stream, but I'm not going to read this entire thing right now. But this is what caught my eye here. This is the reason why it caught my eye, because it was like, this is what happens when conspiracy theories go unchecked, right? Let's go ahead and turn that off for now. But yeah, so the story of Simon of Trent, right? I mean, you could just look it up on Wikipedia if you want, but I'll give you the very abridged version. The short version. Roughly at around I think it was 1475 or so, right around there, in this small town of Trent in northern Italy, which is now called Trento. So the town is still there. Simon of Trent was a young kid who disappeared. Nobody saw where he went. He was gone for a few days. And then a Jewish man who was going out and getting water from the well found the kid drowned in the well. Right. And that's what happened. So basically, this kid went out, fell down a well, because that shit happens, I guess. I guess he must trying to get water or something. Fell down the well, drowned, and then everybody was wondering where he went. Was he kidnapped? Blah, blah, blah. And a Jewish guy goes up and is getting water from the well and sees the dead body. And so they go and they report it to the authorities, right? And then the Christians in the town blame the guy who found him, blame the Jewish man who found Simon of Trent for his kidnapping and murder. And they obtain a confession through torture. Right, because let's not forget, there was no such thing as an investigation of police. And, there were no police back then, first off. Sheriff, barely, maybe, right? And they basically took this guy and fucking put the thumb screws on him and tortured him till he admitted to kidnapping and murdering this kid. Why? Because of bigotry and anti-Semitism. And right around that time, there were always pogroms and stuff like that, and that kind of thing against Jewish people. And this is an example that this is what led to more persecution, right, against Jewish people in that area, where this poor guy was basically tortured and then forced to name other people who were then caught and tortured, and etc., 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 because medieval Europe was a fucking, like, theocratic hellscape where nobody had any rights, and simply by the fact that these people weren't Christian means that they could be basically murdered anytime the Christian, authorities felt like it, right? Why? Because of conspiracy theories. The conspiracy theory back then was blood libel, and this is why I brought that up. So what the hell is blood libel? Well, it's a conspiracy theory, basically, from, Christians in antiquity, where Jewish people would would go out and, kidnap children and then drink their blood and mix the blood into their fucking bread, matzo, right? I'm not even kidding. People actually believe this, and they believed it so much that this is what got that poor guy killed, the guy who found Simon of Trent drowned in the well, the guy who reported the body. And if you think about it, if he just wouldn't have said anything, he would have been better off. He did the right thing, whatever this poor dude's name was. I don't actually have his name written down. But, he did the right thing, said, hey, I found the kid, and had to suffer for it because of anti-Semitism, racism, and bigotry. Right. This is something that, so even today, 500 years later, right, white supremacist wacko goes into a synagogue, kills a guy, and injures like a dozen others. This is what he's citing in his fucking manifesto. Some shit from fucking some disproven, some shit from 500 years ago that's based on a fucking disproven conspiracy theory. Right. This is why it matters. This is why it matters. This is why you need to pay attention to what's going on for these people, right? This is why it matters when Marjorie Taylor Greene stands up and, like, the lady that made a name for herself blaming the California wildfires on Jewish space lasers, right? This is why it matters when she now is, like, gaining political power and is sitting up there banging the fucking gavel in front of the House of Representatives. Okay? It's bad news, folks. It's bad when these people take over, when they actually get power like this. Right? Right now they're focused on trans people. They're focused on gay people, on trans people. They won't be forever. All right? If you think you're safe, you're not safe. All right? If they're allowed to take over, if they're allowed to capture, the government from us, right? Your rights are going to start disappearing one at a time. Just watch. Because this is who they are. And they make no, they're not even trying to hide it anymore. Right? And the people that follow them are fucking crazy. It's scary shit, folks. This is why you got to be prepared, be prepared for this. And I don't mean to, I'm not trying to scare anybody into doing anything. I don't believe in fear. I'm not saying you should go out and buy a gun or anything like that. I am saying that, who you vote for matters, right? This is why it's important in order to prevent these people from gaining political power. We're not at that point where violence is justified. It's not there yet, and I don't think it'll get there for a number of years, right? One day it might be justified to say, okay, the United States is now, we've lost everything. We don't have our rights anymore. They're rounding people up in the streets. If it ever hits that point, then yeah, I'll be up here saying, yes, buy a gun and join the revolution. I don't think it's there yet. I think if the only way to stop this is through peaceful political means, right, is by, the way to stop this is by preventing the United States from degenerating into a fucking hellhole, is by stopping, because that's what the right wing wants in this country. They want a dysfunctional country, right? That's what they want. They want a dysfunctional country so it's easy for them to take over. So how do you stop them? You stop them by making the country functional, by voting in the people who actually want to govern and who don't use hate and fear to do so, right? That power station thing we were talking about, that's not the only time that happened. I'm sure you guys remember back in December, the attack on the power station in North Carolina that was done in order to stop there was a drag show, right? Here's an article on it. No real needs. We have no need to actually open this article, but I'll put it down in the chat so you guys can check it out later if you want. But this happened in December 5th, and there was an attack on a power grid that left 45,000 people in the dark, right? Because there was a drag show at an adults only drag show, right? That some protesters didn't want to happen. That's why so instead of going to the place and protesting it or whatever, because you have a right to do that. You can show up at any place you want, protest anything, make your your voices known, stuff like that, instead of actually going and doing the right thing to do. I mean, even though, yeah, okay, they're assholes. When you call people, you see Proud Boys and shit showing up at drag shows to protest it. Yeah, they're fucking assholes. And they're trying to use violence to intimidate people and stuff like that. But they have a right to do it. They have a right to do it. And that's the right way to actually do it. Even if they show up and they act like a bunch of dicks or whatever, or if they show up with guns, I think that's a little too far, but in certain states you're allowed to carry guns, so, whatever, right? But still, that's how it should be. It should be you should have to go and protest stuff. You can protest any fucking thing you want. That's that's how you're supposed to, right? You're not supposed to go shoot up a fucking power station so that the place loses power, right? That's too far. And so, I mean, makes perfect fucking sense, though. It's like, okay, well, now power stations are a perfect target of the right wing in this country. That also was not the only time that happened as well. Here's another one from April of 2022 that you guys may be interested in. This is from the United States Department of Justice. Let's go ahead and open that up. Right. Department of Justice. 3 men pled guilty to conspiring to provide material support to a plot to attack power grids in the United States. Right. February 23rd, 2022. Almost a year. It's actually, yeah, almost a year ago. Right. 3 guys here. There's their names. I'm not going to read their names, whatever. Right. Each pled guilty to 1 count of conspiring to provide material support to terrorists. Charged in plea agreements indicate that defendants knew and intended that the material support they conspired to provide would be used to prepare for and carry out the federal offense of destroying energy facilities. Right. Let's read this next paragraph here. These 3 defendants admitted to engaging in a disturbing plot in the furtherance of white supremacist ideology to attack energy facilities in order to damage the economy and stoke division in our country. The Justice Department is committed to investigating disrupting such terrorist plots. Blah 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 blah. Anyway, basically, the long story short. These 3 assholes wanted to attack power substations and wanted basically to cause civil unrest, economic distress and civil unrest. Right. So let's go ahead and turn that off for now. Like I said, why did they want to do it? So it'll cause chaos. So it will lead to the collapse of the United States. Right. So then that way they can go in and people will think they're saviors, because this is the plan, It's like, oh, once the cities become infected, after we get rid of all the power and there's chaos, then all the gangs will take over. And then we'll come in and we'll shoot all the gangs, and then people will think we're saviors. And then we'll say, okay, if you want our protection, then you have to follow our fucking stupid-ass racial purity laws. Right. Or maybe they won't even do that. Maybe they'll just decide just to come in and just kill everybody who isn't white. And hey, the cops won't be there to stop them. And, everybody knows that only right-wingers have guns in this country. Even though, like, there's more shootings in cities and in like, blue states than there are, it's like, well, no, obviously, only the right-wing Republican real Americans actually have guns, so we'll just go and kill everyone who isn't white. That's basically the fucking plan. Anyway, dangerous stuff, folks. These people mean business. One more example of political violence that I want to bring up here. GOP, let's go ahead and here, I'll open this up for you guys. Here is the link to this one as well. So if you remember way back last year, during this last election, right, this one I thought was funny because this is like, I mean, you can't get any more fucking partisan than this shit. But here we go. Oh, let me make that. No thanks, fuck off. Okay, let me make that a little bit smaller so you guys can read the headline. New details emerge about a failed GOP candidate who allegedly targeted Democratic officials in shootings. Right. Not going to read all of this article here, but basically this dude right here, his name is Solomon Pena, and he ran for House District 14 in Arizona for the House of Representatives, and he got trounced. He got destroyed, right? This is the same state, if you remember Arizona, that's where Kerry Lake is from. You know, the Republican who lost and has made a big fucking deal trying to pull a Trump and saying that I didn't really lose, and then suing and getting laughed out of court because she has no evidence that there was voter fraud, stuff like that. That's Arizona. Apparently, Republicans in Arizona don't like to take no for an answer. So, anyway, let's go ahead and turn that off. I'm not going to actually read this article. If you can check it out if you want on your own. Long story short, Solomon Pena went out and hired a couple of guys to shoot at the houses of various Democratic opponents that he lost the election to. And he, I guess, went to shoot at one of the houses himself, but his gun jammed. And the guy that he hired, he told the guy to aim lower, because the guy that he hired was shooting at like the roof, you know, up, so it wouldn't hit anybody. And he told the dude, shoot, you know, aim lower, because he wanted to fucking kill some people, right? And they know it was him who did it because Solomon Pena had the bright idea of going to each house beforehand and verifying that the targets, the people he was targeting, actually lived there. So, not the brightest fucking dude in the bunch, right? So yeah. Is there any example at all of a Democratic candidate, a Democratic politician, anywhere that you can think of doing anything even remotely close to that, right? Because that's the thing, you know, they say both sides are the same. You know, if you talk to any given right winger on any given time, you know, and you start talking about political violence, that's the response you're going to get. Both sides are the same. Name it for me. When? Because I never fucking heard about it. When was the last time a Democrat lost an election, went out, hired a couple of fucking thugs, and went and shot up a bunch of people's houses? When did that happen? When was the last time BLM went and shot up a fucking power station because there was an event happening that they didn't like? Would they do that? No, they would just go protest the event. You know, I don't even know, whatever fucking event they wouldn't like. I don't know what, Ben Shapiro talking or something. Here's an example, the Cop City thing, right? Perfect example there. You know, are the protesters at Cop City, are they going out and blowing up power stations? You know, no. Are they planning, you know, do they catch any of them planning to, with explosives, planning to, like, blow things up, right? Have any of them been caught beating the shit out of people with flags, or joking, or running somebody over, like as what happened at the Unite the Right rally? Has any of that happened at this? I mean, there hasn't even really been any BLM protests for a couple of years now. I just, you know, the Cop City thing is the only thing that I can even think of that anybody's even really protesting, right? Has that degenerated into riots? Like, no. Are there buildings being burned down? They always like to say, "Oh, BLM burned down our cities." Are there buildings being burned down right now in Georgia? Over the fucking, it is in Georgia, right? The Cop City thing. I haven't really been paying attention to that story. Like, no, it's not happening at all, right? When was the last time that you know, a left-wing protester went out and robbed a bank in order to bankroll their revolution? When did that happen, right? That's a thing that white supremacists used to do all the time. You know, the fucking Aryan nations and shit were notorious for that back in the 80s. They would go rob banks and stuff in order to buy weapons so that they can, like, start fucking helter-skelter. Right? It's not even close. You know, left-wing and right-wing violence in this country is not even fucking close, you know. And we really need to, you know, why? Because we don't have left-wing pundits on the air spreading hate and fear 24/7, profiting off of hate and fear. It just doesn't happen like that, right? That's ultimately the reason why. Because they have people like Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson and Ben Shapiro and fucking, you know, Alex Jones, right? And Charlie Kirk standing up there not 24 hours a day, but every single day spreading hate and fear through the airwaves. You're going to die if we allow this to happen. They're taking away your kids. They're going to take away your guns. They're going to make your kids gay. Right? I mean, if you listen to this shit every single day, imagine if that was your media diet, because imagine if that's what you listen to 24/7, just right-wing talking heads, and then you go to Fox News, and it's fucking like, Sean Hannity on Fox News saying that the immigrants are coming to take your job, right? And then Tucker Carlson gets up and says that, that black people are replacing you, that the Jews are sending black people to replace you, and you're going to be canceled, and you won't even be able to get a job anymore, and all this other crap, right? And then Candace Owens getting up saying that gay people are like, turning your kid trans, and they're going to brainwash your kid into chopping off his dick. I mean, if this is what you listen to, if this is what you consumed as your media, as your source of information, right? How do you think people are going to act? How do you think they're going to, adjust to that? What do you think they're going to believe? It's no fucking wonder. I mean, surprised there's not more violence, to be honest. Just to think, if I'm picking on white people here, I want to end us with talking about a little bit of Candace Owens.
All right, guys, I have a question.
Shut up, Candace Owens. I hate to subject you guys to Candace Owens, but I want to let you know that it's all not, I mean, I am talking a lot about white supremacy here and all that. You don't have to be a white person to engage in bigotry. This is episode 89 of the Candace Owens podcast. You can easily find this on her YouTube. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because of this. How long is this segment anyway? There's a 5-minute segment here. Trans Lives Matter protesters storm the Oklahoma Capitol. Storm the Oklahoma Capitol. That's how she puts it, right? So what happened exactly? Okay, before we get in, a little bit of background before we actually start listening to Candace Owens and seeing what she has to say here. What exactly happened? So, Oklahoma is proposing a bill. I don't think it actually passed, but I think it passed the one house of their Senate, which would basically outlaw transition. You wouldn't be able to get transitional care in Oklahoma at all. Like for adults. Like it's gone. Right? That's the bill that's being proposed. So it's not children. It's like I think it's for people who are like 21 and younger. So not even like children anymore. Because like I said, like we talked about last week, they always have to frame their bullshit in a way that we're protecting the children, right? This time they're not even trying to do that. They're saying 21. 21, you're an adult, right? You're allowed to do everything at 21 with the exception of fucking run for president. Like, you still have to be 35 to be president. But at 21, you can drink, you can vote, you can join the army, you can go to jail for fucking life if you murder someone, You're supposed to be a full-fledged adult at 21, so why are they trying to take it away? Why are they trying to take away... If you want to transition, if you've decided, hey, I've spent my whole life and I've always felt like I was trapped in the wrong body and I want to, Who out there is allowed to tell you otherwise? It's your life. It's your body. You can do what you want with it, right? Why does it bother? Why does it matter to anybody else? You know? Yeah, okay, you can make the argument for a minor. You can make the argument for somebody who's 15, 16. You can say, hey, this person is too young. They don't know what they're getting into. They can't do all these other things. We restrict them from drinking and joining the army and having sex and buying cigarettes and all this other shit. We should be able to restrict them from this. You can make that argument, and I think even a lot of people on the left would agree with that argument. It's like, yeah, okay, I personally think you should be fucking 18. But why 21? What's the fucking difference? It's like, no, if you're a legal adult, you should be able to do whatever the hell you want with your own body. Anytime you feel like, and it doesn't matter what it is, no one has a right to fucking tell you otherwise. I guess except unless you're Candace Owens. So that's the background to this particular story. So what happened? So a bunch of trans people went to the Oklahoma Capitol and protested outside of it, which is their right, which is what you're supposed to do when a law passes that you don't like, when there's a law that you object to. You know, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to vote. You're supposed to organize politically. That's what these people did. Candace Owens doesn't like that. Let's figure out why.
Death, an idea that was first touted by medics in 2000. So here it comes. It'll probably happen first, if I had to guess, in Belgium, followed by Canada, and places that seem to have removed morality altogether from medicine. And then, of course, always, and the debates
Sorry, this is the end of the previous segment. Come on, Candace Owens, hurry the fuck up.
will end up in America. Speaking of the trans agenda, January 6th has happened again, except nobody cares because it's trans individuals that are doing it. The Trans Lives Matter protesters decided to occupy the Oklahoma Capitol building to fight GOP bills that ban gender-conforming surgery for people that are under the age of 21. So, of course, that should be banned if you're under the age of 21. You should not be. Honestly, you should never be allowed. I would go a little.
Okay, we got to stop her there. All right. So she categorized this. So here's a picture of the protesters. You know, people went to protest. Occupying a building is a valid form of protest. It's where you show up, you walk around inside, you stop official work from happening, right? She said it was January 6th. She categorized this protest as January 6th. We can't let that go, folks. We can't let her get away with that because January 6th was not a protest. It was an insurrection. And those are different things, right? People in January 6th showed up there in order to kill Congress, to murder people. That was what they wanted to do. They showed up in order to stop the election, to stop the certification of the election, right? To murder Mike Pence, murder Nancy Pelosi, and murder Democrats. And then force Donald Trump back into office. That's what January 6th was about. Okay, that's not a protest, right? If the people of January 6th would have stayed outside and just been outside, you know, fucking cheering and jeering and shit, it would have been a protest. The minute they broke in there, right, and walked around and started smashing shit, and when they started fighting cops, and they started smearing feces on walls, stuff like that, right? That's no longer a protest. You know, if they would have broke in and sat down on the ground, right? Because that's another thing. A sit-in, that's a form of protest as well, where people just show up, or they block the entrance. That's a form of protest. These are legitimate. You know, they may not be exactly legal, but they're legitimate forms of protest, right? You know, disrupting stuff like that. I mean, yeah, they may have still have gotten arrested for trying to disrupt an official proceeding or whatever, right? But the thing is, I guess what I'm trying to say is it's when it's peaceful, it's a protest, right? January 6th was not peaceful. We can play that video again. It wasn't peaceful. It was a riot. It was an insurrection. They had a plan. They were there in order to stop a specific certification of the election and overthrow the United States government and install the person who lost. Right? Not the same thing. Not the same as going and walking around and like with a sign in order to protect your rights. So no. We can't let that go, because people who watch your show now are going to go home and be like, "Yeah, see, January 6th was just a legitimate protest. Why are all those people in jail?" Get the fuck out of my face with this bullshit, Candace. Let's rewind that a little bit more. So then you notice that she also said, she's going to say something pretty bad here. So yeah, let me rewind it just a little tiny bit. Let's see, where are we at? Let's go back about 5 seconds.
The Oklahoma Capitol building to fight GOP bills that ban gender-conforming surgery for people that are under the age of 21. So, of course, that should be banned if you're under the age of 21. You should not be, honestly, you should never be allowed. I would go a little further. Oklahoma, if you really want to do something, just ban it altogether. But trans people were very upset, and they decided to storm the Capitol building.
As they should have. See, like we said last week, we talked a little bit about this last week, right? The ability to do what you want with your body is freedom, right? That's what freedom is. If you don't like what you look like, if you don't like the way that your gender was assigned at birth, whatever, for whatever, you don't even need to have a reason, right? It's your body. You can do whatever the hell you want with it. If I wanted to go out tomorrow and chop both of my arms off and get a big old tattoo that said, I don't know, fuck shrimp on my forehead tomorrow. If I wanted to do that, if I wanted to chop my nose off and tattoo every inch of my body with puzzle pieces and put like a shitload of like earrings and studs and spikes, you can do any of that stuff you want, and there's no law against any of that. Nobody can do shit to stop you. I mean, it's your body. Do whatever you want. I should be able to chop off my dick and my balls and get 2 big old titties put on me if I feel like it. And if you don't like it, the right response is go fuck yourself. That's the right response. If a cop shows up and says, no, you're not allowed to do that, that's bullshit. This is a free country, right? And I like how she just says she doesn't care. She doesn't care. She doesn't care about your freedom, because that's what that is. It's freedom. It's yours. It's my balls. I could do what I want with my balls. It's my penis. I could do what I want with it. How come I can't chop it off? Go fuck you, Candace Owens. That's the proper response to that. Is the proper response to Candace Owens saying we should outlaw it completely is go fuck yourself. That's what it should be. Those people with those signs, all of those signs should say go fuck yourself. Right? Because there's no arguing with this kind of thing. It's like, no. I mean, yeah, if you want to say, okay, don't allow children under 18 to do it, okay, fine. When you're an adult, though, it's fucking different. We allow people to do self-destruct. I mean, let's say you consider it self-destructive, which I don't, right? But this is going to be the argument. Let's try to steel man them a little bit here, right? The argument is it's self-destructive, it's unhealthy, blah, 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 whatever. Okay. Well, we allow people in this country to do self-destructive and unhealthy things all the time. We allow people to buy cigarettes. Cigarettes are fucking bad for you. They'll give you cancer. They'll give you emphysema, right? You'll fucking die if you smoke. And you will, eventually. And I say this as somebody who smoked for fucking a dozen years. Right? I used to smoke. I used to smoke fucking like 2 packs a day and shit. Finally quit. when I was like 30. Thank God. Seemed to be okay. But still, point is, you're allowed, it's legal to buy fucking lethal fucking cancer causing cigarettes, right? Alcohol's legal. Alcohol also causes cancer. I don't know if you guys know that. Alcohol is a carcinogen, right? So you can, drinking a couple of beers every day for 40 years, bad for you. You could get cancer, right? We allow that. People get drunk and get in car accidents all the fucking time and die. We allow that. We allow people to buy guns, blow each other away in this country, right? We don't stop that. You're allowed to do dangerous shit all the time. We allow people, fuck. So we allow people to do all kinds of things that are not good for them. Food with saturated fat is not good for you. French fries. Chicken fingers. I ate chicken wings tonight, for fuck's sake. Right? We don't outlaw those things. What's the difference? Right? We don't tattoos. If I wanted to go get a tattoo of a giant penis and with Bart Simpson's head at the top, right? And get it right on my face, and where like the Simpson penis head was like right where my nose was, and then if I wanted to put a piercing with a little like light up fucking dog that played a Merry Christmas song every time I sneezed, like I could do that. Nobody could say shit, right? If I wanted to go inject right into my scrotum, like I could cut it open and like take the little laughing like voice box out of a doll, and I could sew that into my scrotum so that every time I like masturbated, it like did a little baby lullaby song. I could do that if I felt like it. Nobody could say anything, right? I can alter my body in any fucking way I want, and people do. People chop their ears off. People cut their noses off. People tattoo their eyes, the inside of their eyes. They may go blind. All of that shit's legal. You have to be 18 to do it. Why is all that shit allowed? But, if I want to get gender affirming care as an adult, that's no longer allowed. Why? Because Candace Owens doesn't give a shit about freedom. That's why. Because conservatives don't care about freedom. They don't care about your rights. They don't care about any of that stuff. All the shit that they scare you with every fucking day. They're going to take your rights away. They're going to take away this. They don't give a fuck about any of that. Okay? All they care about is enforcing their will on you. We're only 2 minutes into the 5-minute segment, so let's listen to a little more.
Take a look.
Oh no! You notice what you're seeing here, folks? Okay, so she called this January 6th in Oklahoma. Right. That's what she called this. That's how she characterized this. What are these people doing here in the building? Are they saying that they want to murder anyone? Excuse me. I have to burp. I remember January 6th, do you? What were they saying in January 6th? Hang Mike Pence is what they were saying. What are these guys saying here again? Trans lives matter. Do you see any of these people smashing windows? Do you see any of them smearing shit on the walls? Is there anybody breaking into someone's office, stealing their laptop, putting their feet up on the fucking table, taking selfies? Do you see any of that? Did they have to break the door down to get inside of this, right? Did they beat the shit out of a cop and spray him with fucking wasp spray so that he died of a heart attack tomorrow, like the day after? Did any of that happen? Right? Were there bombs placed outside? Remember January 6th? Somebody went and placed bombs at the RNC and the DNC headquarters? Right? They haven't found that guy yet, by the way. Whoever went and placed planted the bombs there, which was designed to draw the police away from the Capitol, if you guys didn't know. That's why those bombs were there. It was so that the police would have to send bomb squads and they would be occupied, and then they wouldn't go to the fucking insurrection, right? Did they catch that guy? Huh? Are there members of the Oath Keepers with a squad of volunteers standing by with weapons ready to come in and shoot people? That's another thing that happened at January 6th that we don't really know. You know, that's why the leader of the Oath Keepers is in prison now. He got convicted for fucking sedition. You know how hard it is to actually go to fucking prison for sedition, right? That's why they never charge people with that. You know. But he got it. Stuart Rhodes. Convicted of fucking sedition. I don't think they've like sentenced him yet. But he's probably going to be in jail for the rest of his fucking life. Now, sedition is a serious fucking charge. 30, 40, 50 years. That guy's going away. Right. Are any of these people doing that? You see any rifles here? Right? Any of these people in tactical gear? Any of them wearing fucking bulletproof vests? Right? Trying to smash the doors down to where the Congress people are at? But it's the exact same fucking thing as January 6th, huh? The fuck out of here.
So I'm just going to come right out and say this because it needs to be said. I have such great contempt for trans individuals and everything that they are doing right now.
Great contempt. Okay. The mask is coming off, folks. Let's hear it.
Now in our society. To me, I've yet to meet a trans person that I thought was a good individual. Go ahead, you can use that clip verbatim, circulate it, George Soros and your goons, because somebody needs to say it. This has gone on far enough, right? All
right. So, right there, as she's saying she hates trans people, she has to throw in a little bit of anti-Semitism there as well. Every time these guys say George Soros, what they're really saying is Jews. Okay, that's what that is. She's playing to the anti-Semitic base, when she goes, you know, you could do that, George Soros. What she's really saying is Jews, you know, she's dropping a dog whistle for her people at home who think that she's, you know, thinks that she's one of the good ones, right? By saying, she's dropping a dog whistle saying, see, I also think Jews control the fucking media, right? You know, it's funny because she so far is the first one, I think, who's gone completely mask off and just said she straight up hates trans people. All of the other pundits, you know, the Tucker Carlsons, the Ben Shapiros, the Matt Walshes, are still in the, you know, trying to delude us into thinking that their bigotry and their hatred comes from a motive to protect children. If you listen to Ben Shapiro will say some shit like, well, I don't care what they really do. I don't care what these people do in the privacy of their own homes, blah, blah, blah. But we shouldn't allow kids to see it, right? You shouldn't have to explain to your kids why a trans person is on an airplane, what we were talking about last week, and all that other stuff. They're still hiding behind children. And Candace Owens isn't. Candace Owens is just straight out saying she hates trans people and that they're all awful people, with this very dismissive look on her face here. Let's rewind it a little more because I want to hear the entire little segment here. I want to hear her explain exactly how much she hates trans people. Let's let her talk.
Individuals and everything that they are doing right now in our society. To me, I've yet to meet a trans person that I thought was a good individual. Go ahead, you can use that clip verbatim, circulate it, George Soros and your goons, because somebody needs to say it. This has gone on far enough, right? They are hateful, narcissistic human beings. It's very obvious that they hate women, that they are misogynists at their core. I'm talking about men that put on lipstick and say, not only that they're a woman, mocking us to our faces, saying, I'm a woman, I'm just like you, I can do whatever you want, but then taking it a step further in their misogyny and demanding rights to things that we have, right? Saying, not only am I you, I'm a better version of you. I will crush you in your sports. I will do everything that I can to ruin your career if you think that there's something.
All right. Can't let this go. We got to talk for a little bit. So someone is a little butthurt So what she's saying is kind of it's a line that TERFs use a lot, you know, trans reactionary feminists, TERF, right? People like you know, like J.K. Rowling or whatever. In fact, she's going to actually mention J.K. Rowling here in a minute, I think. And the line that she's saying is that, well, trans women are really just men who are invading women's spaces. That's where that whole thing is coming from. Where she's saying this shit like, oh, we'll do everything that you do better, and we want, you know, that's the excuse that the TERFs use. That they're really just men. They want to take over things that belong to women. They want to invade women's spaces. They want to invade things like women's sports where they have an unfair advantage, blah, 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 blah. Right? Now, Candace Owens is not a TERF because Candace Owens is also not a feminist, so you can't really call her a TERF. She's just a straight up fucking bigot. But, you know, if anybody out there actually thought that people like J.K. Rowling or whatever, you know, weren't conservative, I mean, I think this ought to show you, right? This ought to show you that they're not only are they very conservative, they're also not feminists either, right? Because they're not. TERFs are not really feminists at all. TERFs are really just conservatives that are trying to use the guise of feminism in order to spread hate and fear. Same kind of thing. Also, I'm detecting a little bit of butthurtness coming out of Candace here. You know, what's that old song, Anything You Can Do, I Can Do Better? That's a very actually feminist song back then. It was some song from like the 1930s or some shit, some old like dance tune. You know, anything you can do, I can do better. No, you can't. Yes, I can. Right? Etc., etc., etc. And seems like Candace Owens doesn't like it when, you know, trans women excel at things, be they sports or anything else. Another thing that Candace Owens is forgetting here is that, you know, you never hear them talk about trans men. It's always trans women, trans women, trans women. Why are they not complaining about trans men? How come you don't see any man out there, conservative men, bitching and moaning about trans men invading men's spaces, right? I mean, it's almost like they're sort of using that perceived, like they're trying to claim that women are victims of, you know, and that trans women are like all creeps and these women are victims, and it's like, you know, no, you're not a victim at all. Just because, I mean, just because a trans woman beats you at wrestling or something, you're not a fucking victim, right? Sports are, I don't know if you guys know, I mean, sports are like an unfair thing anyway. You know, you get two people, let's say two boxers. One of them wins. Why? Because he was bigger and stronger and faster and trained harder, right? No one's ever equal in sports anyway. You know, why does when what's his name? Michael Phelps, why does he dominate when there's a swimming match? He just fucking like completely dominates. Why? Because he's bigger and faster and trained harder, and maybe he's got good genetics that lend him to being an awesome swimmer. Some people are just born more athletic. They just have larger builds. Some other people, no matter how much they work out their entire lives, they'll never be super huge, super strong, you know. You get some guy who's out there who's fucking like, you know, 5'3" or whatever, right? Doesn't matter how much he works out, he's never going to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. Not big enough, doesn't have the build for it, doesn't have the genes for it. He might be, you know, super, he might get, you know, big in his own right. He might get muscular and athletic and stuff like that. He'll never be Mr. Universe. Just not going to happen, right? Same way that I'll never be a marathon runner, even my entire life. Even if I were to like get up and fucking train every fucking day, I'll never be able to run a fucking marathon. Forget it. It's just not going to happen. Plus my knees are fucked up. My knee hurts. I can't run. You know, used to be able to. Can't run anymore. Shit happens when you get old. Anyway. So what's the big fucking deal about it? You know, as long as it's regulated and there's rules. And yeah, you don't get like, you know, what's the South Park joke? Fucking Macho Man Randy Savage putting a wig on and then going and like beating the crap out of all the women in women's wrestling. Yeah, you don't allow that, right? But if you get somebody who's been on, you know, the hormones for a little while, and, you know, what's the rules for women's in sports? Like they have to be on it for a couple of years or something, right? And there has to be like X number, you know, not this much amount of testosterone in their system or whatever, stuff like that. And, you know, as long as you can judge that there's no unfair advantage, why not allow trans women in sports? What's the fucking problem? You know? Most of the time, when there are trans women in sports, they don't even fucking win anyway. You know? It's like, we only hear about the ones where, like, the people win, and then it becomes a big fucking deal because some, like, you know, some girl gets butthurt that she lost and tries to sue or whatever. It's such bullshit, so I don't know, man. And then also this thing where she says here, you know, what was that last thing she said? I've never met a trans person with like, what did she say exactly? Let's rewind it just a little bit. I don't want to take her word out of it. I don't want to put words in her mouth.
And your goons, because somebody needs to say it. This has gone on far enough, right? They are hateful, narcissistic human beings. It's very obvious that they hate women.
So, one thing Candace Owens never gets to say ever is that anybody else is narcissistic. She never gets to say that. That's an argument Candace Owens does not get to say. Candace Owens makes a living out of being narcissistic. She makes a living out of coming on the air and telling other people, right, why she's smarter than them and why what she says matters more, right, and why she's right about everything. Even when she's 100% out of her fucking mind wrong. Like calling this protest January 6th, this protest in Oklahoma. It's an absolute fucking joke. Lewis the Hedgehog, hey, what's up, man? Yes, I am on today because I'm going to be off tomorrow. I will not be streaming tomorrow because I'm going to Disneyland. So, actually, really I am. I'm going to Disneyland this weekend because it's the best time to go when there's the Super Bowl. No one's at Disneyland. It's awesome. So, I will not be streaming tomorrow morning, so I figured I'd do it tonight. Let's listen to a little bit more what this vile fucking human cockroach has to say.
That they are misogynist at their core. I'm talking about men that put on lipstick and say, not only that they're a woman, mocking us to our faces, saying, I'm a woman, I'm just like you, I can do whatever you want, but then taking it a step further in their misogyny and demanding rights to things that we have, right? Saying, not only am I you, I'm a better version of you. I will crush you in your sports. I will do everything that I can to ruin your career. If you think that there's something wrong with this, a la what's happened to J.K. Rowling and people demanding that she has her career stripped from her. Because
I don't really think you can ruin J.K. Rowling's career. J.K. Rowling doesn't work for anybody. She works for herself. She's self-employed, right? And she's rich enough with enough fans that she can basically get away with any kind of shit she wants. So no one is demanding that J.K. Rowling, never work again, never write another book, right? What they're asking is for her not to be a fucking, like, turfy-ass bitch, is what they're asking for. They're asking for her to, stop spreading hate and fear and stop fucking treating, you know, trans women like they're not real women. right? And here's the thing, like, how did she just frame that? Because you don't, what did she just? She just framed it as somebody who doesn't agree. So just because you don't agree means that they want to ruin your career. They want to take all this stuff away. Well, what do you mean, like? The thing that J.K. Rowling and Candace Owens doesn't agree on is that these people should be allowed to exist. What did she say at the beginning of this segment? She said, she would outlaw trans affirming care. She would outlaw completely, right? So how do you have a discussion with somebody who thinks you shouldn't be allowed to exist? See, that's like kind of the what's the word for that? The paradox of intolerance, right? The paradox of tolerance. How do you tolerate people who are intolerant, right? People that turn around and say, well, this is just my ideas, these are the things I believe in, and I should have a right to believe them. Well, what you believe is that these other people over here should be, should not exist, right? Let's just say, for example, they did outlaw trans affirming care. So what does that mean if somebody decides to, say a doctor decides to give it to somebody who is 20 years old? Because that's what they're proposing. They're proposing, or Candace Owens says completely, just outlaw completely. So let's imagine that Candace Owens, somebody died and made Candace Owens God, and she woke up tomorrow and she was, able to just completely, she was in charge and she was able to completely outlaw trans affirming care for everybody, right? What would happen to someone, say a doctor, who decided to then give somebody trans affirming care? What would happen to a doctor that prescribed puberty blockers or gave somebody top or bottom surgery or anything like that? Would that doctor go to jail? Right? Would that doctor be thrown in prison? What about the trans person themselves? Would they be thrown in prison? Right? What if they didn't want to go to prison? The cops will have to use force. If the cops show up to take you away to prison, whether you agree with the law or not, whether you think the law is just or not, they will use force because they are mandated to do so, right? That's their job. Their job is to use force. If you don't go along with it, they will kill you. Right? You try to run away from the cops, they'll fucking track you down, beat the crap out of you, shoot you if you put up too much fucking resistance. So basically, we can cut out all the middle ground there and basically say that she wants trans people and the people who help trans people to essentially be murdered. That's what it is. Because if you don't obey, you die. That's what she's trying to say. That's what she wants. That's what all of these people want, right? They don't want, on one side, and so this is what it really gets me, getting back to the very, very beginning of the stream, right, where I said that it really, really irks me when people say that both sides are the same. Look at the people at that protest that we were just looking at, right? Those people, what do they want? They want rights. They want to be able to exist. Trans rights, trans lives matter is what they were saying, right? They want to be able to live free, right? Candace Owens wants to take away their freedom. That's the fundamental difference. Let's turn this bitch off. Okay, I know we've only got 5 minutes left, and she says more vile shit, but you know what? Fuck Candace Owens. You can find this. I'll put it in the chat here if you guys want to watch it on your own. Right. I recommend not watching it because fucking Candace Owens is the most vile of the vile, in my opinion, because she fucking knows what all this shit is. She knows she knows exactly what she's fucking doing, right? Like you could say somebody like Ben Shapiro doesn't know the hate that he causes because he grew up fucking like sheltered and all this other shit. Candace Owens knows exactly what she's doing. She's a fucking grifter, and her political opinions change with the wind. She's doing all this shit because it makes her money, and that's why I think it's even worse. She doesn't even have the pretense, of saying she really believes the shit that she says. At least in my opinion, at least. Right. But anyway, yeah, getting back to what we're saying, that's ultimately the difference. Ultimately the difference between the left and the right, Republican, Democrat, conservative, progressive, right? Essentially, in so many words, not all progressives are Democrats, but you get the idea. Not all conservatives are Republicans either, right? Left and the right. That's the difference between these guys, between us, is that the people on the left want freedom. They want to be able to live however you feel like living. The people on the right want to take away your freedom. They want you to live exactly how they mandate, right, you're supposed to live. That's what this is. They want to mandate the way that you're supposed to live. They want to mandate who you are and are not allowed to have sex with. They want to mandate how you raise your children and what you expose them to, right? And how your children express themselves through whether that's their gender or the way they dress or anything like that, right? They want to mandate that to you, right? That's freedom of speech. The way that you dress, freedom of speech. The way you express yourself, whether that's expressing your gender or anything else, that's freedom of speech. That's number one of the Bill of Rights for a reason. That's more important than the right to bear arms, right? If they didn't think so, they would have made the right to bear arms number one. They didn't. They made freedom of speech, freedom of religion, right? Those are the most important things that the founding fathers in this country, all the right wingers and shit, always talk about the founders' original intent. This is what the founders would have wanted. Well, we know what the founders fucking wanted. Founders wanted you to make this a country so that anybody could say whatever the hell they wanted and nobody could do jack shit about it, right? Because you weren't allowed to do that back in the day, back in the 17 fucking 50s and shit, when they were drafting all this stuff, right? You weren't allowed to do that. The founding fathers came from a world where you could go to jail for saying the wrong shit, right? For not believing the right thing, for not believing the right religion, right? For speaking out against injustice, just speaking out against it, and they could throw you in irons. They could pillory you, right? One of my favorite punishments from medieval Europe is called the boats. Do you ever hear about the boats? The boats is where they would take two little rowboats, and they would clamp them around you so that only your head and your arms were sticking out. The rest of you were inside of the two boats that were clamped together. So you couldn't go anywhere, you couldn't walk, you couldn't leave, you couldn't do shit. Right? Sometimes they would just leave your head sticking out. Right? Then they would force feed you honey and milk so that you would get diarrhea and you would crap yourself, because you got to crap someplace and it's inside the boat and you got nothing to do. And they would keep doing this over and over, and you keep repeatedly crapping yourself, and they would leave it until insects started fucking eating, invading the boat, worms and bugs and spiders and shit, and you would slowly be eaten alive inside of these two fucking boats, suffering, and it would take you weeks and weeks and months to die. That's real shit that they actually did in medieval Europe, right? This is where our founding fathers came from. They wrote this in the Constitution on purpose. No cruel and unusual punishments, right? Because they witnessed this shit firsthand. They witnessed this shit. They witnessed people being thrown in prison and getting fucking pilloried and chained to the wall and shit and stuff like that for just saying the wrong fucking thing, just believing the wrong fucking thing, right? So no. Whenever somebody like Candace Owens gets up there, or fucking Matt Walsh, or Tucker Carlson or any of these other people and they talk about patriotism, these fucking people are not patriots, right? These people are traitors. They're not patriots, right? They don't believe in the most found, the most like fundamental belief that we Americans hold dear. The most fundamental belief, right? Number one, Congress will make no law, infringing the freedom of speech, right? They don't care about that at all in the fucking slightest. And if they had the chance, they would force their will upon you, and they would laugh while doing it. And that's what all of this shit's about. And there are people that listen to them are fucking crazy. And they'll go out and, the people that listen to them engage in violence. And this is why this shit's important. This is why it's important who's in charge. This is why it's important to call people out like Candace Owens when she gets up and says this vile, hateful shit. This is why deplatforming is a viable strategy. This is why it matters. Kick them off of Twitter. Kick them off of YouTube. Right? Fuck them. Look, why? Why? Because it's in our best interest as a country to stop the spread of this kind of hatred. And if we have to use social media to do that, if we have to pressure Google and Facebook and, any other, Twitter and all this other shit, even though Twitter's a fucking lost cause at this point, do it. Right? Even though, you may have reservations about censorship and all that. No. They call it a culture war for a reason. Right? And it's time we started fucking, taking this shit seriously, man. Because maybe, hopefully, it'll stay a culture war and it won't actually, turn into a real fucking war. Anyway, Lewis the Hedgehog, they will say it's not like we're killing them, but yeah, you may be driving a lot of them to suicide, so you kind of are. Well, they actually are killing people. I mean, I know you only came on during the second half of the stream, but first half of the stream, I was talking about white supremacist violence. People attacking power stations. We did a good. I don't know if you saw that segment. We did a good 30 minutes on fucking white supremacists attacking power stations and political violence. So it's yeah, I mean, they are, they do occasionally actually kill people for real. So that's definitely a thing. But yeah, you're right though. They have the excuse of we didn't actually say anybody should do it. Well, that's sarcastic terrorism. That's what it is. I personally believe that if you try to drive someone to suicide and succeed, you should be held responsible for that person's death, and most of the time the laws agree with me. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. 100% agree. It can be tough to actually prove that kind of thing, though. That's the problem, Because that does occasionally happen, Some kid will get bullied like crazy, and then he'll go kill himself. And then video will come out of him being bullied and stuff like that, and it's well, you still can't really prove that they drove someone to suicide. I mean, I know that there's been cases about that in the past. I mean, I honestly don't know enough about it to cite any examples, though. But I have heard about that kind of thing in the past, where someone will try to, arrest somebody, saying that, yeah, this kid killed himself because you fucked with him so hard or whatever. And I think the closest they can get to that is it's involuntary manslaughter is the closest analog we've got. I do remember some kind of case like that, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, about someone who was who killed themselves, and what happened was that there was like he was a victim of online bullying, and these like this one girl had a video of him that she posted online of him doing something really fucking humiliating, and they were just like fucking with him day in day out, and then he killed himself, and then they got charged with like I think it was involuntary manslaughter they got charged with, but I wasn't actually I don't know I didn't really follow up with the story. Disturbing stuff, folks. Anyway, we should probably end this. It's 10:30. I got a big weekend ahead of me, so I got to get going. But yeah, everybody out there, just stay safe and please take these people seriously, I guess is what I'm trying to say. When you hear political pundits come up and engage in sarcastic terrorism, we have to hold these people accountable for this. And what do I mean by that? I mean by sending emails and writing letters to their venues, by, pressuring tech companies like YouTube and Facebook to deplatform these people when they say shit like Candace Owens just said right there. That's something that I think should get her kicked off. That's straight up fucking hatred and bigotry right there. If you were to say that about any other minority group, it'd be enough to get you kicked off. How come she's allowed to say that about trans people, right? No. Bad stuff. When these people go and talk, when they go to get paid $35,000 to talk to a room full of fucking kids or whatever, protest that shit, right? And be active, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Be active, and let's win the culture war through hearts and minds, right? I guess that's what I'm trying to say here. So anyway, I gotta really get going. Thank you all so much, anybody who joined tonight. I know that it's been a slow night. I didn't really give a lot of notice, so thank you for coming, anybody who actually came. Before we get going, I have to share my social medias and all my other various stuff. Please like and subscribe. I probably should have said that at the beginning of the stream. I have to really get into that habit there. Let's see. Anyway, and then I will show this as well. So let me turn on my monitor here and share all my social media stuff. This is my DeviantArt gallery. I have all of the artwork that we do on the channel ends up there. Please go check it out if you want to. I have an Etsy shop. I sell stuff on Etsy, including comics and prints and things. I'm actually putting digital versions of my comic up on here. Those of you who don't like actual physical copies, there's some digital versions of that. Please check me out there, and if you like what I do, please throw some money my way. Got a web comic. Please check it out. It has ninjas, it has talking ducks, it has decapitations. It's loads of fun. And I have another YouTube channel where I play video games and play with toys and other things like that. Please check me out across all of these things. Anyway, I will not be streaming tomorrow. Taking this weekend off. We'll most likely stream again on Wednesday night. And if I don't do it Wednesday for sure, we'll be back next Saturday. So anyway, guys, I am out of here. Adios. The balloon. the China spy balloon. Maybe we'll talk about the China spy balloon next week. Anyway, it's